Hello, I'm Jim McCurry, Europe, Middle East, India, and Africa, and UK leader of EY's Fraud Investigation and Dispute Services practice. I'm delighted to share with you the high-level results of our 14th and most extensive global fraud survey. We conducted one-on-one interviews with more than 2,800 senior executives in 62 countries and territories around the world. In our Europe, Middle East, India, and Africa region, we spoke to 1,900 executives in over 40 countries. The polling sample was designed to elicit the views of executives with responsibility for tackling fraud and corruption in their organization, predominantly chief financial officers, chief compliance officers, general counsel, and heads of internal audit. Our respondents represent the views of large multinational organizations across a wide variety of industry sectors and government bodies. The results show some extremely worrying trends, but also grounds for cautious optimism as long as company boardrooms act fast to mitigate the impact of fraud and corruption should the worst happen. The escalating threats of cybercrime, terrorist financing, and more recently, the revelations regarding widespread possible misuse of offshore jurisdictions have increased pressure on governments to act and companies to identify and mitigate fraud, bribery, and corruption issues. At the same time, there have been concerted efforts to apply international standards on transparency of company ownership, including by the World Bank and G20 member countries. Our survey results show that such initiatives enjoy popular support, with 91% believing it is important to understand the ultimate beneficial ownership of the companies with which they do business. Despite this, bribery and corruption remains an ongoing challenge. 39% of respondents consider these practices happen widely in their country, rising to 51% in emerging markets, with no improvement since our last survey in 2014. Alarmingly, 42% of those asked in our survey could justify unethical behavior to meet financial targets. When presented with a series of options, more than a third of respondents, nearly half of the finance team members, were willing to justify inappropriate conduct to help their business survive an economic downturn. This includes making cash payments to win and retain business or misstating financial performance. Board members and companies' audit committees should be aware that regulators are focusing on these behaviors and are keen to hold individuals to account. This sentiment is reflected in our survey, where 83% of all respondents view enforcement against individual executives as an effective deterrent against fraud, bribery, and corruption. The support for this across the Europe, Middle East, India, and Africa region is also unanimous, ranging from 91% in Africa to 85% in Western Europe, and down slightly to 73% in Eastern Europe. Our survey also shows there are obstacles that stand in the way of employees using internal reporting channels. So how can organizations bolster their defenses, particularly when entering emerging markets such as Africa, India, and Eastern Europe? There is no doubt that fraud, bribery, and corruption are frequently exposed by whistleblowers. It is therefore not surprising that our survey highlighted 55% of companies have a whistleblowing hotline in place. Recognizing this fact, regulators are adopting new tools to support and encourage individuals to come forward. Our survey also shows, in addition to personal safety, 19% of respondents cited loyalty to their company, and 18% cited loyalty to their colleagues as reasons why they would not consider whistleblowing. I hope you found this a useful summary of our survey. The report itself includes greater insight and details on the risks highlighted. It also includes the views of a number of executives in leading organizations who we asked to comment on the findings. Enjoy the survey, and remember, our global team of more than 4,500 fraud investigation and dispute services professionals are here to help.